But typically in matches like these, what's going to happen is the conversation of Mesut Ozil comes up. And this is the kind of matches that perhaps he might be able to thrive in and make a change as well in this Arsenal side. That's how you saw it, Martin?
No, because Ozil has proved, he's demonstrated that he's now not up to the level. You know, we're not there. We're not privy to the work every day. But there's a certain standard you need to get to. And he hasn't obviously got anywhere near that. You can't be the best player and not be in the team if you're not applying yourself. That's what I believe it to be. I think Arteta is an honest man. If he was working hard enough and showing enough in training, he'd be in the team. Why wouldn't he be in the team? Arteta, you can see he wants more creativity, but he wants a different culture now. He wants more physicality. He's bringing in the likes of Gabriel and Partey. They're the people. That's the future. And he doesn't want to turn to Ozil. It's a strong intention when you consider the money they're paying him, but they want something else. They want to move to the future. And at the moment, it doesn't look as if Ozil's going to be a part of that.
But doesn't it warrant at least a position in the squad? Perhaps for instances like these, or once in a while, you might utilise him as well. I mean, if you're going to pay a man that much, you might as well have him in the squad, and perhaps you might involve him at some point. I mean, arguably...
It may look like that. It may look like that from the outside, but you have to work hard, you know, and you have to be seen to be... there's a way of working within the football club, and clearly he can't be doing that. This is not just a political move by the football club. They know that he's not working right. He's not showing the right work ethic. He's not applying himself. They don't want that around the young players. It's about building to the future. It doesn't matter what they're paying him. It's about what he does on the training pitch. I believe that Arteta will give him a chance. He gave him a chance at the beginning. So now it's looking like he's not going to be there. And then, you know, I think the sooner that can happen is the better. Because I think it's painful for everybody associated with the football club to have to keep talking about a player that clearly the manager doesn't want there.
Well, you're clearly not surprised that this has happened. Well, what about you, Andy, from a non-Arsenal perspective? Did it shock you a little bit?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of a shock from the outside because of, like you said, the salary he's on and looking at his career stats and stuff like that, goals, assists, trophies won. But I also think that if, like Martin says, Arteta's looking to take the club culturally down a different path, he wants a different type, he wants different attitudes, and he's not pulling his weight, I think it's a good opportunity for him to stamp his authority on the group. It wasn't Arteta who gave Ozil the big contract, so he can easily go to the board and go, listen, you guys gave it to him, that's nothing to do with me. I think if other players now who come in, or young players coming up who Arteta wants to try and develop, can see that Ozil's been put to the side for not showing the right attitude or not working hard, then that shows that everyone is ready or couldn't be cut if they're not prepared to dig in and give all for the show. I think it's a good message to send out to every player in that squad, going, no one's indispensable at this club.
Do you not think it's a bit harsh? I'm more focusing on the manner that this has panned out and how it maybe leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth as well, in terms of, from my perspective, from what I read out of Ozil's statement, he was led to believe that things were going well for him, that he still has a place in this Arsenal side, and then pretty much almost out of nowhere, he was frozen out of the squad, fell out of favour, and then eventually not included in the Premier League squad as well. And according to him and his agent, that's the footballing reasons are not the entire truth. So, I mean, I don't know, Martin. I don't know which side do you stand on this.
There's always two sides to every story, but at the end of the day, Ozil has to be accountable for his performances. You know, there's a way that you behave around a football club. You know, both Andy and myself have been in dressing rooms. And you know there's some people absolutely magnificent. When they're not in the team, their attitude's incredible. Some of the players are like a bad smell in the building, and they don't work. The work ethic's not there. They're kind of like sulking. They have this demeanour that is workable. We're not there, but we can only understand that maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. I think the club has been incredibly loyal. I think they demonstrated that when they gave him this enormous contract. Not an issue there. They didn't force him to sign it. He's willingly signed the contract. I'm assuming he had other opportunities. But at the end of the day, it's not working. He's not reaching those levels. Did he go into the comfort zone? Did he become like somebody else? Only he will really know at the end of the day. And I think the sooner that Arteta can talk about today's game and other topics, the better. And that if they are going to let Arteta Ozil move on, let's do that as soon as possible, and then they can build for the future.
But is there not a better way to handle the situation, Andy?
I think it's hard to know without knowing what's been said between the manager and the player and maybe the club. We don't know. Ozil saying yes, he thought the football side of it was going well. I'm sure if you asked Arteta, he might have a different story. So this is the thing with social media as well these days. You know, the players have such access to their side of the story, which maybe in the past they wouldn't have. And it's not the first time that a big player has probably been left out of a squad or sort of forced out the door against their will. And I'm sure it won't be the last either. But yeah, I think there's a way of going about things. And unless you're in that building, I don't think we're ever probably really going to get to the bottom of it, to be honest.
But where do you think all this started then, the downhill started, this exile started? I mean, you're talking about a man, like we mentioned again and again, highest wage earner, one-time record signing as well. Where did it all go wrong for Mesut Ozil, Martin?
Well, if you look back to when Sanchez, you know, they had a dilemma, didn't they, the football club, when Ozil and Sanchez contracts were both coming to an end. Sanchez went off to Manchester United. That didn't work out either. And Ozil stayed. I mean, I don't know whether Arsenal was sort of held to ransom because they didn't want to lose both players. And that's not necessarily a good basis as to keep somebody. And I think actually maybe Ozil went into the comfort zone. He wasn't as creative as he was in the past. This business about working hard for the team became very evident that there was almost a disdainfulness coming from him when someone played him a ball that he couldn't reach. He didn't really work. He's been questioned for his work rate. That's the last time we really saw him on the pitch. Emery seemed to not use him. He started to use Ramsey more. And then Arteta came, his former colleague, his former teammate. He played him from the start. He was involved. There were some mixed performances. But I don't think you can argue he wasn't given an opportunity. And now Arteta, if he's the judge now, is not seeing what he wants. He's not seeing the work ethic. He's not seeing the player that he maybe thought he was inheriting, and he's decided to go in a different direction. That's what happens. And you just have to take your medicine. You have to accept it, and you have to move on to another thing. And really, I think we should wish Ozil well in whatever he does next. And it'd be actually fantastic to see him prove Arsenal and Arteta wrong. But I don't know if he can do it. If he hasn't got the desire and he hasn't got the will to do it, that I don't see him achieving that. And maybe I think Arteta's right. From what I saw from Ozil in the last few games we saw for him, from in an Arsenal shirt, I don't think he was anywhere near the level of the player that Arsene Wenger signed on that really long contract.
Well, at this point, his next role is to be a match commentator on Twitter. That's what he's embarking on right now. But you point out the contract being the turning point for Mesut Ozil. Correct me if I'm wrong, Martin. Didn't Arsene Wenger have a one-year extension policy for players reaching 30 or players over 30? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that was right and proper, though. I think to try and stay at the right levels, you know, it was always forthcoming a new contract. It was always done very early. But once you went over a certain age, you didn't really sign anything longer than a couple of years at the maximum. So no, I think we kind of got used to that. So and I'm sure that's pretty well what they do now.
Well, was it a mistake on Arsene Wenger's end then to provide Mesut Ozil with such a big contract to a man that was turning 30 that year and perhaps blinded a little bit by his love for Mesut Ozil, so to speak?
I've tried to explain the circumstances that Arsenal found themselves in. Ivan Gazidis was the chief executive at the time. Arsene Wenger wanted him to sign, but he wouldn't have known what monies were involved. You know, and I think the club felt they were in this dilemma, and they just felt they looked at the spreadsheets. They couldn't. They were allowing Sanchez to go for nothing, and they didn't want Ozil to do the same. And that was the intention. And you look back now, and you might have been better off to have lost both players, because maybe we lost a part of Ozil at that point, because I don't believe he's been the same player ever since.